Hello, everyone, and welcome to the new and improved Roundtable here at Tunnel Vision Sports. I'm your new host, Jasmine Nichelle, and today we are talking NFL. We have a lot to discuss, but first, let me tell you about the new structure we have going on here. So I will introduce the topic. Each guest will have like a minute to give us their best argument. After a minute, they will be buzzed and then given a 10-second wrap up to finish their final thought. So we'll move on and each player will give their responses. Once we're done, you, our viewers, will be able to vote on our social medias who you think had the best answers. And this person will be awarded bragging rights and like special privileges in our upcoming roundtables. So let's get to introducing our special guest. First, let's start with Dylan Jesperson. How are you, Dylan?
I'm great, Jasmine. I'm really excited and have the fans decide who the best arguer is among the three of us, because I think I'll hold my own, but I'm excited to get into it.
Perfect. Well, glad you're here to participate, Dylan. Next, we'll have Jacob Serrano. How are you, Jake?
Doing good. I'm excited. I'm interested to see what the guys bring to the table. I know they know their stuff, so I think it's going to be a battle.
Perfect. Thank you for being here with us. And lastly, we have Dylan Holt. D. Holt, how are you?
I am fantastic. I could not be more excited to be here to argue. I am a very competitive person. I cannot wait to take this first dub right back to West Kentucky with me. How are you doing, Jasmine?
I'm great. Thank you for asking. Are you guys ready to get the roundtable rolling?
Yes, ma'am.
Absolutely. Let's go.
All right. Let's start with the first topic. Our first question is Stafford's legacy after winning his first ring. Do you think the Hall of Fame is in discussion now? Let's start with Dylan J. Let's go.
All right. So I have a very tumultuous history with the man, the myth, the legend, Matthew Stafford. And if you saw my piece on TV Sports Mag this week, you probably have a good understanding of what I'm going to say. But if you haven't, please go check that out. Matthew Stafford was great in his time in Detroit. And even though I was not the biggest fan of him, you can't argue with his numbers. And really, even in his time in Detroit, it was really more of, his numbers are good enough for the Hall of Fame. It's whether or not he can win something. And it obviously wasn't going to happen in Detroit. I'm happy it happened for him in LA, but now that he's got that, I don't see anything on his resume that points to not making the Hall of Fame. And he's still got 2 or 3, 4, maybe good prime years left in him. So I think he's going to be a shoo-in for the Hall of Fame once it's all said and done. And I'm happy for him, to be honest.
Perfect. You're right under a minute. Let's go with our next contestant. Let's go, Jake. Let's hear it.
Oh, you're not going to like this, Dylan. I actually don't think he has the numbers to do it, and I'll tell you why. I think he can eventually get there, and like you said, he's got 3 or 4 years left. I think he could do it. But I looked at the stats, and out of 110 players of the Detroit Lions, he's tied for 71st out of all those players that have 1 All-Pro. He has no All-Pros. He only has 1 Pro Bowl. Okay, so he doesn't have that. Comparing him to Phillip Rivers, who a lot of people question if he's going to make the Hall of Fame, he's 6th in all-time passing yards, Rivers is, and Stafford's 12th, okay? And the same thing goes for touchdowns. So if you're comparing him to Rivers, it doesn't look like he's going to make it in. He's got no first-team All-Pros. When you're an All-Pro, that means you're the best player in your position. I just don't think he has the numbers to back it up, and he's never received an MVP vote. So, and Rivers has twice. He's got 2 times during the voting periods where he's gotten MVP votes. So and Rivers has 8 Pro Bowls too. It just doesn't add up for Stafford. I think with the Super Bowl that he has, that's the point where he can build his resume right there.
Perfect. All right. Our last guest, D. Holt. Let's hear it.
I disagree, Jake. I think that Matt Stafford, he moved from Texas to Athens, Georgia to Detroit, Detroit to Los Angeles. His next move is Canton, Ohio. I agree. He doesn't have the numbers right now, but Matt Stafford's still got a few years in Los Angeles with a loaded offense. Odell Beckham Jr., Cooper Kupp, Robert Woods, whoever they want to put it tight in. It does not matter. That man's going to throw for a bajillion yards over the next few years in Sean McVay's offense. He's got 49,995 yards right now. His first pass of the 2022 season, he'll get to 50,000 career yards. He's still got years left in the tank. Phillip Rivers is a really good comparison, But when all is said and done, Stafford's going to be above him. It's just how it's going to be. And Pro Bowls, that argument is I hate it. I'm not going to call it stupid because no argument's stupid. But that's a faulty argument. Mac Jones has one Pro Bowl. Matt Stafford has one. Mac Jones has played 1 year. Matt Stafford has played 12 or whatever it is now. That's idiotic. Matt Stafford's been a top quarterback in the league. He's been unfortunate because there's been so many top quarterbacks at the same time he's in this great league. That's all I wanted to say. Love you, Matt.
And that's all. You guys had great answers. So let's move on to the next topic. With the questions surrounding Aaron Donald's future, where does he rank all time amongst defensive players and players overall? Let's start with Jake this time.
Yeah, so Aaron Donald, I mean, I think he's a first ballot Hall of Famer. When he retires, he's going in the Hall of Fame, no question. I think he's in the likes. He's probably top 5 with the likes of Mean Joe Green, Alan Page, and some of those guys that are already in the Hall of Fame. Okay, he's got 4 defensive players of the year. He's been to the All-Pro 7 times. This guy's got 98 career sacks. I mean, when you just think about Aaron Donald, he's a monster. Guys fear him. And when the NFL does their top 100 players voting, the players vote for these guys. The last 3 years, he finished 1, 2, and 3, or somewhere in that order, but he's finished top 3. The players vote for him. He's one of the most feared defensive tackles in the league. And I think he's one of the best players in the game right now. And if you were to rank him greatest of all time, honestly, you could put him in the top 50 of greatest all times, maybe even in the top 25. He's just that good.
You seem really sure about that answer, Jake. I hope everyone agrees. Next, let's do Dylan Holt.
I do agree. Aaron Donald is going to go down, and I'm glad you used the term most feared because I think he's going to be the most feared player of the 2010s, and he might be the most feared player of the 2020s, and he could retire tomorrow, and it could still be that way. Aaron Donald's a freak of nature. I remember being a senior in high school, and my defensive line coach telling us to watch a rookie Aaron Donald, telling us he was one of the best in the world. A rookie! Like, what in the world? Just the concept of that doesn't happen. He's done this since he was a rookie in the league. He just led his team to a Super Bowl. The last 2 plays of the game of the Super Bowl, it was him disrupting everything. That last play, the 4th down play, Joe Burrow, everyone's seen it. He had Jamar Chase down the field, and Donald disrupted it, secured a Super Bowl for Los Angeles. He's one of the most dominant players ever. He's right up there with the LTs, the Mean Joe Greens, like you said. And, I mean, if he keeps playing at this high level for a few more years, and he's got 8 years under his belt, he could be the best ever. No doubt in my mind. Aaron Donald's a freak of nature.
Very passionate answer, Dylan. Last contestant, Dylan J.
Yeah, I'm going to echo a lot of what they said, but I do think that his legacy will be as the greatest interior defensive lineman that the NFL has ever seen. And that's not saying much because defensive ends usually get most of the shine on the defensive line. But when you look at what Aaron Donald's done, just the numbers that he's had, and defensive line is not easy to put up numbers. A lot of times elite defensive linemen have problems with, double teams and stuff like that. Aaron Donald has never had that problem in his entire career. He's been consistent throughout, and that's why he gets all the praise that he does. I think for sure he's the best defender of my lifetime, and that's saying a lot. I've seen the Troy Palomalus and those guys of my lifetime, but there's no doubt Aaron Donald's the best defensive player I've seen. I think he's the best defensive lineman, period, I've seen. So in the past 20 or 30 years, I'd say best defensive lineman, and I think best interior defensive lineman ever in NFL history.
May I add one thing, since we all agree?
Yep. You can
I don't know if you guys ever heard this story, but Aaron Donald, when he does his off-season training, and we talked about him, most feared player in the NFL, he does knife fighting to do his swim moves and get in through the defensive line. I would not want to go up against that guy if I was an interior offensive lineman. If you're doing knife fighting to do your training for the NFL, that's just crazy to me.
I love that we all agree on this topic. Those were great answers, guys. On to our next topic. Can the Rams make it back to the Super Bowl next year? Can Cincy make it back to the Super Bowl next year? And which team has the brighter future? Let's talk about it. Dylan Holt, I'm going to start with you.
Awesome. This is a really fun one, I think, because I think both teams have really, really bright futures, and for 2 different reasons. LA is going to do whatever they want because it's LA. They're going to bring superstars in. Superstars are going to leave. It's whatever. It's going to be a recycling thing. I think if whatever they want to do, they can do. Like today at the parade, Aaron Donald said, "Let's run it back," and they're all like, Word, let's run it back. So if they've got that kind of mentality, I don't know who's stopping them. If they get everyone back there, good luck, NFL. As far as the Bengals, that's a super young team. Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow are like little kids out there going against grown men in the Rams like Aaron Donald, Leonard Floyd, Von Miller. As they continue to grow, that's going to be a scary team in the AFC North. As far as a brighter future, I think it might go with the Bengals because they have all those draft picks that the Rams don't have. That's going to catch up at some point. As far as who can make it back next year, I think the Rams have a far better chance of making it back next year. The NFC is not near as strong as the AFC is. The AFC is so young with so many great young teams like the Bengals. That's going to be hard to fight with the Bills and Chiefs. Whereas the Rams, they're just going to get stronger probably, and that's terrifying. So, yeah, I think the Rams probably could be back next year, but since he probably has a brighter future.
Perfect answer. Next, Dylan J. Let's hear it.
Yeah, I think both teams definitely have a chance to be back. If you're going to hear it on the Dylan and Dylan show this week, I think the Rams have the greatest potential to become a dynasty if all the pieces fall into place. If they keep Aaron Donald around, if Von Miller sticks around for a while, if they keep all of those offensive pieces around, they have a chance to right now win and win a lot. So I think the ceiling is higher for the Rams. But I do think the Bengals future is brighter for the same reasons that Dylan said. Those draft picks are tough to overcome. When you don't have those draft picks, you can't move forward in the same way. And I also say this, I think Matt Stafford will end up in Detroit at the end of his career. I think once his contract expires, he's going to end up retiring in Detroit. So I don't think you have an unlimited time with Matt Stafford in LA. So while I think immediately the ceiling is higher for the LA Rams, I think the Bengals long-term are going to have a better success in the next 10 or 15 years.
Great answer, Dylan. Lastly, Jake, let's hear it.
Yeah, so I think we all have similar points on this question. Honestly, I think the biggest question is going to be, or the team with the most question marks, is actually the Rams. But I do agree with you guys on this. You got to think about Odell's health. Where is he going to go after the season? Are they going to have that number 2 wide receiver? If they do have Robert Woods, but he got hurt this season, he was out. Is Whitworth going to stay? Is he going to retire? So there's some things you have to think of before we go into next season. Regarding next season, I think they have the best chance out of both teams to make the Super Bowl, to win it, just because the Bengals have to go through Josh Allen, Justin Herbert, Patrick Mahomes, the Patriots. I mean, they beat the Ravens, but they have to go through the Ravens again. The Titans, the list goes on and on. If you're Matthew Stafford and I was about to say the Lions, the Rams, you don't have too many teams to go through. I mean, the Niners they're going to get rid of Jimmy G. They're starting new. No Brady. Rodgers might leave. Wilson might leave. Russell Wilson. Kyler Murray's in fits with the Cardinals. So I think the surest team right now is the Rams. And the team with the brightest future, I was going to say, is the Bengals. They're just young team. Biggest question, though, right now is Joe Burrow's health. He got hurt again. Remember that.
Mm-hmm. Great answer, Jacob. All right, let's move on to our next topic. We have, which team is the way too early favorite to win next year's Super Bowl? Let's start with Dylan Holt.
I really want to say the Tennessee Titans. I said it before this season started. I really want to say the Titans are the favorites. I'm not going to, though. I think I'm going to ride the defending champions. I think it's the Rams. I think if everyone runs it back like they literally said like 2 hours ago from when we're recording, when they were doing the parade, Aaron Donald's like, let's run it back. And if Aaron Donald's like, hey, we're just going to do this again, that they might just do it again. Like, fair enough. If Matt Stafford has all those healthy weapons, the defense is healthy, I think the Rams could easily run it back. You obviously got to worry about the Chiefs, the Bills, the Ravens. There's so many good teams, which is exciting. There's parity in the league. There's going to be so many moves this offseason. But if I had to pick one way too early favorite, going to go with the champs. Going to get the L.A. Rams.
Good answer. Jacob, let's hear from you.
Yeah, this was actually a really tough question because you don't know what's going to happen in the offseason. You have the draft. You have free agency. People retire like Brady. So obviously the Buccaneers are out of question right now. I know that for sure. I got to agree with Dylan Holt on this, but I did have another point too. Yeah, I mean, the Rams, like I said before, the NFC is wide open and they're the leader. They're the top dog. So it's not going to be very hard for them to run it back. But if I had to honestly pick a different team to get away from it, I was going to say the Buffalo Bills. They're right there knocking on the door with the Kansas City Chiefs. If they could just take down Patrick Mahomes and get past them, honestly, I think they would have beat the Bengals. And Josh Allen, and we're going to get into it, I think that's the next topic or a few topics down. He's a freaking nature too. He's one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL right now. So if I had to go to another team besides the Rams, I would go the Buffalo Bills. That's surefire in the AFC. You could pick between the Bengals, the Chiefs, and the Bills. The Bills are right there. They're knocking on the door. All they have to do is get through. The passing defense got shredded in that AFC divisional game. They just have to get through it.
Great answer, Jake. All right, Dylan J.
Yeah, both of my answers got stolen, and I'm going to try to take a different route to this. I do think the Rams have the easiest shot in the NFC for obvious reasons, and I think the Bills are probably my favorite in the AFC. I came into the season not thinking much of Josh Allen and was like, kind of, let's prove it, and he did. He took the Chiefs to the brink of knocking them out of the playoffs, and they were really just a coin flip away from beating the Chiefs. If I have to pick a third team, and I'm going to, I am enamored by what the Cowboys have made in Dallas. And I know they keep burning me every time that I pick them, but I still think they have the best chance of anyone that's not really in the main conversation. When you put Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb in that offensive line, and Zeke, if Zeke can ever get his head back on straight and get back to what he was, mixed in with what Diggs did on the defensive side of the ball, there's so many problems still with organizational issues with Dallas, which kills me to pick them. But I do think, they're still that brand name. They still have Dak Prescott. And if they can get back to that level that they were playing at the early beginning of the season, I think they're still a Super Bowl team.
Jake, it looks like you got something to say over there.
Oh my God. I can't believe he's saying the Dallas Cowboys again after the last roundtable where he said he had so much belief in them. I can't with Cowboys. I really can't with Cowboys fans. Listen, half of their wins come from the NFC least. Okay, that they can win all those games easy. They're just, to me, it's the same thing every year. And honestly, if I had to give a way too early prediction for next year, Mike McCarthy's not going to be there after the season, and Sean Payton's going to come in. They're going to restart, and they're going to do something that Jerry Jones likes to do. It's Jerry Jones' world out there. And listen, it's just that division, and that's usually why they make it in. And then they get to the playoffs and they stumble.
Mm-hmm. Dylan Holt, you're kind of quiet over there. It looks like you got something else to say.
Well, yeah, I'm right there with Jake. The Cowboys are so frustrating because you hear all this time from old people. They're like, it's the Cowboys, the dynasty. What are you talking about? Well, it's like, well, I was born a little bit later than you, and they've kind of always sucked in my life. Like, I just know Tony Romo fumbling that long snap, and like they didn't go to the Super Bowl when they were supposed to. And like Dez, he might have caught that ball at Lambeau Field. I don't know the Cowboys being good, and it's hard to trust them when they've had all this talent throughout my entire life, and they just don't do anything with it. So I'm right there with you. I don't think McCarthy's going to last long, but I think it's going to be Kellen Moore. I'm all in on the Kellen Moore hype train. I want him to get that head coaching job, run that Boise State run and gun, pistol, whatever you want to call it, offense, and just put up 1 million points and still lose games because it's the Dallas Cowboys.
I will point out that I had to pick the Cowboys because both of my first two picks were stolen, and I didn't want to repeat you guys. But
you could have picked the Lions.
I think I would be laughed off the stage if I got picked the Lions. But my belief in the Cowboys always goes back to my belief in like the talent in the players of the Cowboys. The organization has its flaws, but I still think Dak Prescott's one of the top quarterbacks in the league when he's playing well. I think Zeke's the best running back in the league when he's playing well. It's just been a while since we've seen all those guys clicking at the same time, and that it probably will burn me again, but we'll see. We'll see.
Here's a hot take for you. The Dallas Cowboys are the name brand, or like they're hyped up the Tennessee Titans. Because I think Dak's just hyped up Tannehill. Zeke is definitely not Derrick Henry. That's 1,000% true. Derrick Henry put Zeke to shame. So I'm just saying, Titans are just a better Cowboys, and the Cowboys just get the shine because they got that name brand. It's like, oh, we're the Cowboys. Ooh.
Best running back outside of Derrick Henry, I should say that. And Christian McCaffrey, but he's never healthy either.
And Dalvin Cook and Joe Mixon.
Okay, I'm going to cut you guys off. I'm going to cut you off. Actually, tell me in 5 seconds what it is. Give me a wrap up.
I just wanted to say, like, I know none of us picked the Bengals, but why are the Bengals over the Cowboys? They were just in the Super Bowl. I don't know.
Yeah, I like that. We had a lot of passion behind that question, guys. Good answers. All right, moving on to our next topic. Is Aaron Rodgers' time done in Green Bay? What is the best possible landing spot for the MVP? Let's start with Dylan Holt. He seems really fired up right now.
Who knows? I think the only people that probably know this answer are like Joe Rogan and Pat McAfee. And no one's going to pry the answer out of either one of them. So who knows? I kind of hope it is because this drama, I'm really over it. This has been a question since me and Dylan started the Dylan and Dylan show like a million years ago. I'm just sick of it. If he's going to leave. If he's not, just stay in Green Bay and please just shut up. It's so annoying, like all this drama. But if he does leave, it's been reported that he bought a house in Nashville. And I mean, that team in Nashville wouldn't mind having a quarterback because Tannehill kind of struggled last year in the Tennessee Titans. And I mean, that's instant favorites for the Super Bowl. Team in the NFC, his hometown San Francisco 49ers. Jimmy G's got to get out of town. He could slide into an offense with Deebo Samuel, and whoo, that would be fun. Maybe get Devontae down there with him, heat up that rivalry. I'd like the Titans, but the 49ers, if you're a football fan, that has to fire you up because he would fit so well with Shanahan and everything they're doing on there. Yeah.
Yeah. Next, let's do Jake. Let's hear it.
Yeah, I was going to bring up the Titans, but you got me questioning something you said. I don't know what you would do with Trey Lance. I mean, you gave up a lot of capital to get him, but that's a different question. I don't think he stays in Green Bay. I think that's the best team they've had. It doesn't get any better from that. I think that's the ceiling for them. Devontae Adams is going to go with him. And I was going to say that too. It was reported he got property in Tennessee. That's a great place to go. That's a major upgrade over Ryan Tannehill. Tampa, guys. Tampa's a good place to go. Brady's gone. That's a Super Bowl roster. We know that. And Denver. Denver is actually the place I think he will go in the best possible situation with Nathaniel Hackett as OC. I mean, you can plug in right there. You have the weapons to do it, the defense to do it. And if Devontae Adams comes with you, wherever you go, I mean, it's the best possible situation. But yeah, you got me questioning the 49ers. I don't know what you do with Trey Lance. You traded up to get him. Do you sit him again? I really would like to know.
Send him to Detroit. Why not? Send him somewhere like that.
Good answer, Jake. All right, let's hear from you, Dylan J.
Yeah, I'm all aboard the San Francisco 49ers train. And I've thought about the Trey Lance stuff. I do think if you have a chance to get Aaron Rodgers a multiple-time MVP, but back-to-back MVP now in the past 2 years, I think you go out and get him and you worry about that later. I think it just makes the most sense. He's a California kid. He's a San Francisco native. So it makes sense for him to go back there and reinvigorate that rivalry that he had with Stafford when it was Green Bay and Detroit. Now it's, it would be LA and San Francisco, but it would be sort of the same thing. And I think you would be able to, stack up those competitors to each other. But I do think Denver is also a very interesting landing spot with Nathaniel Hackett, like Jake said. But I just think San Francisco is going to be too much of an allure. They've got so much without a quarterback that you add an Aaron Rodgers and you add Devontae Adams. That's easy a Super Bowl team. And that is my other point is like, if I could have picked whoever Aaron Rodgers landed on, that would have been my Super Bowl favorite for the last one.
All right. Great answer, Dylan. Let's move on to the next question. So I want you to rank these 3 AFC quarterbacks. Okay. Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, and Joe Burrow. Let's start with Dylan J.
All right. I'm excited for this one. I'm excited to hear the other guys' takes, but I think obvious number one is still Pat Mahomes. He's got all the intangibles. He's got the Super Bowl ring. He's got the MVP. I still think he's number one, and it's hard to see someone surmounting that talent. I do think Joe Burrow is at number 2 now with what he's accomplished. I do think Josh Allen probably has a bit more talent than Joe Burrow, but it's not that much more that it makes what Joe Burrow's done in his career less to me. I mean, Joe Burrow has won a national championship. He took a bad Bengals offensive line to the Super Bowl this year and was doing things with one of the worst offensive lines of all time in terms of like a competitive team. He got sacked more than any quarterback in Super Bowl history. He got sacked more in a playoff game history and still was doing all that he did. Now, as long as he can stay healthy behind that offensive line, I think he will be better than Josh Allen down the road. But I still think these obvious top 3 in the AFC. And I just think Joe Burrow edges out Allen for the second spot just a little bit.
Good answer. Let's move on to Dylan Holt.
So I think the AFC and the quarterbacks specifically are going through like a repeat, like history repeats itself type deal. And I think we're seeing the reemergence of these top quarterbacks that we saw in the last 2 decades, where we saw like guys like Peyton Manning, Phillip Rivers, Tom Brady, Big Ben, guys like that. And we've got this new crop in Mahomes, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, which is really exciting. And I think these 3 guys kind of follow in those guys' footsteps. I think Patrick Mahomes is the most talented quarterback in the AFC, falls in that Peyton Manning type mold. And I think that gets him in that first spot. I think Josh Allen falls in like he's a hybrid of like Big Ben and Phillip Rivers. And I think he's probably better than that. But I think that's the kind of the mold he's going to fit in, where he's just going to be awesome, leads him to a lot of wins. And I think he's going to unfortunately come up short in a lot of really big games, kind of following Phillip Rivers' footsteps more than Big Ben. And then I think Joe Burrow's a lot like Brady. I think he's going to start out as kind of like a darling, and people are going to really get annoyed of him when he starts winning and winning and winning and winning. And I say all that to say this: I'm going to go Mahomes, I'm going to go Allen, I'm going to go Burrow. I think Burrow's not quite there yet. So Mahomes, Allen, Burrow.
Thank you, Dylan. Jake, let's hear your ranking.
Yeah, so I thought long and hard about this question. I may have overcomplicated it, but I mean, Patrick Mahomes is probably the worst. No, I'm just kidding. But I really thought really long and hard about it. Obviously, I put Mahomes at number 1. He's got the Super Bowl. He's got it locked down. I didn't think that was that hard. Really, 2 and 3 were the hardest thing. When you think about Josh Allen and you think about the way he throws and the things he does, he's proven to be the guy in Buffalo. He's finally gotten Buffalo back to where they need to be. But you could say the same thing, obviously, about Joe Burrow. That's why this question's so hard. What really pulled me away from Joe Burrow going to number 2, I put Josh on at 2 and Burrow 3. What really pulled me away is I heard something on the radio. Is Burrow going to be like Andrew Luck? Is he going to be able to sustain his long-term success if he keeps getting hurt and hurt and hurt? And he sprayed his MCL in the Super Bowl, we just heard out. So he's done it time and time again. Can he get to the Super Bowl? We haven't seen it. Joe Burrow did it in his second season after tearing his ACL and becoming the comeback player of the year. But I think Allen, just long term, he could have more success. And that's why I put him at 2.
Thank you, Jake. All right, let's move on to our last topic of the show. Are you guys ready? Is there any chance Tom Brady's career isn't actually over? Is there any possible landing spots if it isn't? Let's start with Dylan Holt. Said no. Really? Okay. Let's go.
Okay, I can go.
Oh, okay. Never mind.
All right. I hope his career's over, because I'm scared he's going to come back and he's just going to torture us. I'm scared he's going to go to some super team and it's not going to be any fun. And that sounds really miserable. After someone for 24 years, I've watched Tom Brady just torture me and just beat every team I've ever liked. I am very scared that he's going to come back and just do that again. But if he does come back, hey, there's not a quarterback opening in Nashville, but there could be if you want it. He's good buddies with the Titans head coach Mike Vrabel. They played together in New England. It's a pretty obvious fit. Or I'm just going to steal my answer from Aaron Rodgers. San Francisco. He's a California guy. He grew up a 49ers fan. It makes a lot of sense. Or, he can just stay in Tampa Bay, the team that's loaded, that won the Super Bowl 2 years ago. They've got an awesome defense, awesome weapons all over the field. If Chris Godwin stays, they will just still be incredible. They have a lot of weapons. I hope he stays retired, though. Let these young guys get shine. Let Allen, Mahomes, and Burrow take over the league. Go off into the sunset and let Giselle make all the money for you guys.
Thank you for that answer, Dylan. Let's move on to Jacob.
So I kind of feel like this is a little bit of a loaded question, and I really went hard and looking into just trying to figure out why he would even come back. But I saw Gronk actually was talking to US Today Sports, and he said, I'll read you his quote. He said, if he's 50 years old, he could still come back. And I think he's going to come back, but in a couple of years. So if Gronk thinks he's going to come back in a couple of years, that's kind of hard to predict down the line what these teams would even look like. But if I were to come back and pull Brett Favre, if I was Tom Brady and just come back, I don't know why you wouldn't go back to Tampa Bay, that Super Bowl loaded roster where you just made it to the playoffs twice, won a Super Bowl. But if I had to pick another team, his old buddy pal, Josh McDaniels, is in Las Vegas now, the head coach. And remember, the Raiders wanted to pull for him a couple years ago in free agency. So did the Chargers, but they have Herbert now. I think that's interesting too. He was with Josh McDaniels all those years. Why wouldn't he go back? I don't know what the Raiders will look like 2-3 years from now, whenever Brady decides to come back, if he ever does. But if he came back this season, I think it's no brainer to go back to Tampa if he pulls a Brett Favre. But I mean, think about it. Josh McDaniels and the Las Vegas Raiders. I think it's interesting.
Thank you, Jacob. And our last contestant, let's hear from you, Dylan J.
Yeah, I do think he'll end up staying retired. I think the rumors have just gotten there because we didn't really expect him to ever really retire. And I think a lot of people are just trying to come to grips with the fact that Tom Brady is actually retired. He's not coming back. The rumors make it interesting. I think Denver is actually the best fit for Tom Brady in that situation, just because it seems so similar to the Tampa Bay situation where they're just a quarterback away from really being competitive. They've got one of the best running back duos in the league. And I think that offense is bursting with talent. They just don't have that guy yet. And I think that fits more of the Tom Brady mold than it does the Aaron Rodgers mold. So obviously he's still under contract with the Buccaneers, so he'd have to sit out a year if he wanted to do that. But I do think that even makes it better. They could possibly get a better draft pick in 2022 or 2023, then get Brady, then start to make that push. It's interesting. I do think he'll end up staying retired in the long run, but it's interesting to think about because Tom is that guy. He never really goes straight forward with what he's saying. It's going to be interesting to watch as his retirement starts now.
Great answer, Dylan. All right, that was our last question, so it's time to wrap up the show. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in, and thank you to my super amazing guests, Dylan, and Jacob, for joining me. Thank you, guys. You had great answers. I loved it. Everyone who's watching, make sure you go like, subscribe, and comment on this episode of the Roundtable. Make sure you go vote on our social medias for your favorite player. Make sure that they get the win, that they get their special privileges. What is that word? Privileges for the next episode. And I will see you all next time on the Roundtable. Goodbye.